business. It's an equalizer. It's a game changer. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. I may stop at some period, but as long as folks acting the food, got to talk about it. And one of the things you want to do as a business owner is to create barriers of entry. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more, they should be given more flexible work hours. We have to think like the successful companies. Welcome to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, we're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. Now, if I happen to save a soul along the way, don't hold that against me. We'll just call it icing on the cake. I'm not in the soul-saving business. I'm in the business-saving business. I'm into building these businesses in our community, building that economic foundation, putting people to work so that we can have a viable community, sustainable, creating our own jobs, putting our own people to work. And that is the mission of the Marketing Pulpit TV show. Now, that's a tall task, but one thing about a business and business success, if you don't embrace marketing and understand how it works, you're not going to succeed as a business. So that's why the Marketing Pulpit has as its mission to build these businesses so that we can put people to work. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and I'm here every Friday. I am a business developer by trade. I have a company called Gatewood Marketing and Web, located in the DC area in Largo. And I'm also an adjunct professor at Prince George's Community College. I'm a consultant for the Small Business Administration in the 8A program. I've written a couple of books, Played in Full and Smarter Than the Boss. And in general, I just want to do what's right for my community to put people to work. And we do that with successful businesses. Everybody has to do their part to make our community all that it can be. And I've chosen business development. And my main tool in that arsenal is marketing. And that's what I do. Now, you can go find out about Marketing Pulpit by going to marketingpulpit.com. You can also follow us on YouTube. Go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So we're out there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for tuning in this morning. To people who are tuning in for the first time, where have you been? But it's never too late. You can always go back to marketingpulpit.com, and you can find all the past shows on the website at Marketing Pulpit. You can also watch the show live right there on the homepage. You can also get blurbs on YouTube. You can go to Gatewood Marketing. We have marketing minutes on the homepage there. You can also go to Instagram, where we put up 1-minute blurbs of some of the highlights from the show. This information is too vital. Some things in life are just too important that money can't be the obstacle. Not having the money cannot be a good enough excuse. That's why I provide this platform. I don't do it to get paid. Now, I do have some good sponsors like BLE Executive Suites and Passion Events Design and 98.6 Band. Perfect Batch Foods, so they make it possible. But my goal, my raison d'etre, my reason for being, is to build these businesses in our community. Now, this week we're going to kick off Black History Month. So the month of February has been designated Black History Month. So starting on, February 1st through the end of the month, people are going to be celebrating Black history. It's an African, the holiday itself is also known as African History Month. Is an observance in the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, and the Netherlands. And it's also about Black achievement. It's a way of remembering important people in history of the African diaspora. Now, it started out as Negro History Week in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson, and it became National Black History Month in 1976. And it started on Kent State University in 1969. And the first celebration was 1 year later in 1970. Anyway, it's Gerald Ford recognized it as Black History Month during the celebration of the United States bicentennial. That's a little history on Black History Month. Now, today we're also going to do a special segment on race in the workplace. Man, I wish we didn't have to talk about race. I really do. But people just won't leave us alone. Really, I want to just go ahead and make this money, okay? I wish that race never had to come up. I wish that people were just judged on what they did and that the playing field was level and everybody had an equal opportunity. But like it or not, that is not the way it is. I remember when I think back on the people that have made an impact in my life, some of those people were actually white. Not because they were white, they just happened to be white. Some gave me opportunities. Some gave me information I didn't have otherwise. Some just had some characteristics that I found attractive. Now, that didn't change me as a person, and their race should have been irrelevant. But that's not the society we live in. Everything now seems to be about race. When I think about my dad, a sharecropper, Baptist minister, he instilled in me this pride, this ability to go out here and overcome obstacles. And he told me those obstacles were there. I wish they weren't, but they are. And we have to deal with it. And we have some very sinister forces now that are trying to make race a dividing factor in this country. That's not right. That's why we're going to talk about it today. And normally we have a segment called War in the Workplace. We're going to talk about race in the workplace now because of some of the things that just keep coming up. I had a child many years ago, and I remember sending her to school. She went to a very prestigious school. And I remember this topic of race coming up in her class in history. And I found it very disturbing that when history is taught in our schools, my daughter, the history that they were teaching started with slavery, while her white peers, they were taught about business ownership, the presidents, the Congress. That's where they started their history. And she was automatically put in this position where she was her little spirit was almost crushed from day one, because now her peers they're celebrating the accomplishments of their forefathers. And my daughter, thanks to history, she's looking at now all of a sudden, she's a descendant of slaves. That's not right. So when we talk about history, we have to remember that Black history does not start with slavery. I think that's part of the agenda, to start those young people thinking in that way. And that's not right. So I'm very torn about this topic. Like I said, I'd rather be talking about business development, building businesses, putting people to work. But on this first Friday in Black History Month, we're going to talk about race. And I'm telling you, it's always a controversial topic. Everybody, the minute you start talking about it, people want to brand you. They want to label you one way or the other. You're not Black enough. You're too Black. You're a racist. I'm just going to talk about it, okay? You can call me what you want. Now, I also want to talk to the business owners out here, because this is another thing that keeps coming up. Last week, we talked about a business owner, Black business owner, and somebody called her and asked for a refund because they realized that her business was Black. Obviously, that's not right. So many Black companies have gone into what we call cognito. So I'm going to ask you today, are you in business or are you incognito? Now, I'm going to ask you this. Are you, as a business owner, proud of your achievements, your accomplishments, your excellence? And are you equally proud of the fact that you are a Black-owned business? Now, the two definitely not mutually exclusive, but sometimes people have been put in this box where they feel they have to choose whether or not they can just tout their accomplishments, their excellence, and then hide the fact that they're a Black-owned business. As the story we talked about last week, I found that shameful that in this country, somebody would call up a company and say, I want my money back because I discovered that you are a Black business. And people are going to sit there and deny this happens. That's why I have a problem with critical race theory. And it's become a buzzword. It's become a catch-all when it's being used now to dispel anything that talks about the sordid past that Black people have had to endure over the years. Critical race theory is not being taught in schools, in high schools and elementary schools, but that has become the buzzword for anything Black that makes certain people feel bad. That's not right. History is what it is. History is what it is. I remember watching some of these old movies, some of these old photographs. I see people at the lunch counters and people are pouring sugar on their heads. I see dogs being sicked on people. I see some of our leaders being assassinated. That's part of our history. But we can't, as a society, say, look, let's not talk about this. Because one of the weapons that has been very effective in moving us forward has been holding people accountable, making them see some of the terrible things that are happening. During the 1960s, as we watched the dogs and the police attack people, innocent marchers on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. In 1965, we watched 4 young Black girls killed, murdered in a bombing. And more recently, we saw George Floyd. We saw his life being snuffed out by a police officer in broad daylight. If you can't talk about these things and let people know how bad things can be, you can't correct it. And I think that's part of the strategy, because people are doing things right now that they don't want history to be able to tell later on. And if you make it illegal to talk about it, that means you won't correct it. And I'll tell you one more thing. I don't think that the critical race theory opponents are actually directing their ire or they're targeting Blacks, because they know Blacks are going to find their history eventually. I think what they're trying to do is to prevent progressive leaning whites, the fair people, the people that understand what we've been through as a race. They're trying to prevent them from getting this information, because they know that, like in 1894 in Wilmington, when we actually had a violent overthrow of the government, where they were Republicans back then, the Republicans were joined by another party, formed a fusion party. And they sent Blacks to state legislature, Black to federal offices. And this was part of the Reconstruction. But these evil forces that are starting to rear their heads again were prevalent back then in Wilmington. They literally had a violent overthrow of the government, of the duly elected officials, burned down the Black newspaper, ran the progressives out of town. And we don't want that to happen again. But if you can't teach it, if you can't hold people accountable, they won't know about it. And the people who are fair and just, and there are many among us, they won't know about it. And they're going to believe that critical race theory is about making people feel guilty, but not exactly showing our history. So, like I said, I don't like talking about race. I'd rather talk about building businesses and putting people to work. But we don't live in a vacuum. Business does not happen in a vacuum. As we talked about the young lady who had a customer call her and say, look, I don't want your service because I didn't realize at the time that you were a Black-owned business. That is the reality. Everybody doesn't think that way. There are some good, fair-minded people in this country. I say to you, come out of the shadows. Don't fall for the okie doke. We need partners to fight these evil forces, these sinister forces, these insidious rules and laws that are being passed across the country to continue to divide us. That's why on this first Friday of Black History Month, we're talking about race. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things that are happening in the news. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. Thank you for tuning in this morning. We'll be back in a moment. Got to go gather myself because this is an emotional topic. I think about my dad, the sharecropper. One of the first influences in my life. But I think about other people who are very influential. But I also think about some of the people in my life who are not Black. They didn't influence me because they were white or some other color. It didn't matter to me at the time, and it shouldn't matter now. But to some people in this country, that's what they want, is to divide us, continue to divide us, to keep the fair people afraid, in the shadows, in the dark. But this problem is bigger than us. We can't handle this alone. So we're going to be back in a minute. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We're here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls. We're saving businesses. We're saving jobs. That's what I'm going to do. And sometimes you got to step out of your lane. You got to deal with the elephant in the room. Right now, we're talking about race. This is the Marketing Pulpit. We'll be back in a moment. I'm not dizzy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should pay more, they should give them more flexible work hours. I may stop at some period, but as long as folks are the food, got to talk about it. And we had people that preceded us, like Dr. King. I mean, really, he laid down his life so that we might have a better life. And of course, people are always saying this nonviolent thing was a non-starter. Well, I'll tell you, sometimes in the comfort of our armchair quarterbacking, it looks easy when you look back through history. You say, man, if I had been back there then, they wouldn't have done that to me. They wouldn't have sicked no dogs on me. They wouldn't have put that water hose on me. I'd have sat at those lunch counters, but I've been pouring sugar on my head. Well, hate to tell you folks, you can't be sitting here looking back on history saying, what would I have done then when it's happening right now? We have voter suppression going on right now. We have redlining going on right now. So we don't have to go back to the 1965 Voting Rights Act. We don't have to go back to the Edmund Pettus Bridge or the 16th Street bombing. We have challenges in our midst right now that we can tackle. Thank you. Welcome back to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We have a great show lined up today. We're going to talk about, are you tech savvy enough to succeed in business in 2022? I did a speech this past week at the Mount Pleasant Baptist Church in Alexandria. It was done by Zoom, a virtual presentation. And we talked about business success in the digital age. And so what I'm going to do today is share some of the information I shared this past Wednesday. And of course, I cut it short, a little shorter, because I talked about an hour and 15 minutes. We don't have that kind of time today. But what I am going to do, I'm going to take some of these acronyms and things that you must know. I mean, I see some good business on that here, and I just see them struggling with this technology. Now, I'm not going to try to make you into an IT person, but what I do want you to do is understand that there are certain terms for which you should be familiar. We're going to talk about some of those and some basic things that you need to navigate these technical waters in this digital age. If you don't get it, I'm telling you, it's going to make your life precariously much harder. So we're going to talk about that coming up. Also, today is also the first Friday of February. Is also the Wear Red Day for the National Heart. I think it's Women Heart Awareness. So to all of the people who are wearing red, whether you're wearing red or not, we do want to send up our love for the Heart Awareness Day. And so if you see somebody wearing red today, could have just been luck of the draw. They pulled that red out of the closet and they look good in it. Or they could be celebrating this observance today, which is the first Friday of February every year. We're going to talk about some of the things that are happening in the news. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we're here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. Not saving souls, we're saving businesses. I'm Robert Gatewood. You can find out more about me by you can find me on LinkedIn. Go there and follow me. You can get updates on some of the articles I've written. You can find out when the show is going to go live. You can actually watch the show from your LinkedIn account. You can go to Marketing Pulpit. There's a bio there about me. You can also go to Gatewood Marketing. And you can also go to robertgatewood.com. Or just Google. You'll see. I've been out there. I've been talking marketing, man. I'm like a broken record. I just keep saying these things. They gotta be said. They must be heard. Because I understand the importance of building a economic foundation in our community. I'm going to talk about some of the things that are happening in the news. Boy, this news is just, woo, Lord have mercy. Now, I've been talking about this technology. I mean, I picked a good day to talk about it, particularly with these first two items in the news. What is the old saying? An old player and new technology just don't mix. Whoa. Well, anyway, an Alabama school teacher was caught having intimate relationships during a council meeting on Zoom with students watching. Man, I've been telling you about this Zoom. You can just rewind some of these shows, and I've been telling you guys for ages. You have to. It's like a gun. Treat a gun like it's always loaded, and treat a camera like it's always on. Particularly the one that's attached to your computer and your laptop. If you're not sure, you turn that computer around. If you're not using it, put a Post-it note or something. Now the cameras come up a little flap you can turn down, because sometimes people turn these cameras on, they forget, they go get a snack, they come back, or they go take a shower, they come back from the shower, they forgot to put the towel around themselves, and they forgot the camera was on. And well, this young lady in Alabama, now you couldn't really see her whole body, but from the motions, I mean, the camera was zeroed in right on her face, and you could tell something was going on. And if you were in doubt, when the shirtless guy appeared in the background, it was like, uh-oh. Well, anyway, I really feel sorry for the young lady that it happened to. I mean, I'm positively sure that this was accidental. But you gotta learn this technology. This stuff gonna get you hurt. That's what I'm gonna talk about later in the show. Are you tech savvy enough to navigate in this digital world? Now, I'm not gonna give you enough I'm able to tell you some basic things that might keep you out of hot water. So anyway, I really feel sorry for this teacher. That was really, man, it reminds me of Jeffrey Toobin, the guy on CNN. He got caught doing some things on Zoom that shouldn't have been broadcast. And I must admit, the other day when I was preparing for my presentation with the church, I'm deciding which camera to use, and I'm using this camera, getting my light straight, and I turned on my Zoom to test it. I mean, that thing must have been on half the day. And if I had been doing, I'm not sure about if it was broadcasting to anybody, but if I had given out a passcode or ID, and I'm sure somebody would have said, like, what Gatewood doing over there? So just be careful. Be careful. Now, a New York actress, she was fired from a theater company after posting and then deleting a rant about the New York Police Department funeral for one of the officers who was slain in Lower Manhattan. Once again, well, y'all gonna say, Gatewood, you had it right. Now, I'm not the only one saying these things, but I've been out here long enough between my technology background, my marketing background, my psychology background. I'm just telling you some things that you just probably should listen to. And one is you can't get on social media, can't get on TikTok and Instagram and be spouting out what's in your heart. Some things you just got to keep to yourself. I'm not into censorship. But when you do these things, be prepared for the consequences. You can't be on. So this lady got fired from her job as an actress. Thousands of people flooded the police department office. She got reamed over social media. She ended up having to close down all of her social media accounts. Just do this. Let me just put it this way. Here's a safe way to do it. If you have some strongly held beliefs and you are willing to take the heat, then go for it. It's not advisable, but do what you got to do. But if you plan to be in the society, you got family members out here, you have employers, fraternity brothers, government officials that you're accountable to, you don't have to put it on social media. Next thing you know, you're closing all your accounts and your life has been turned upside down. Let's see, what else is going on? Spotify has hit a rough spot. They got into trouble. This guy, Joe Rogan, he was saying some things that a lot of people who are in the trying to get people vaccinated and get rid of this pandemic. Well, Rogan was putting out some information that many people found that was offensive or untrue, or at least questionable. So Neil Diamond, he was the first one. Neil Young came out. He said, take my music off Spotify. He's been followed by Joni Mitchell, Niels Lorcan, Indy Ari. Hey man, I like her. David Cosby, Stephen Mills, Graham Nash, Roxanne Gray, and Mary Trump are among the artists who have been pushing to remove their content from Spotify. Man, everything is controversial nowadays. God, man. Can we get back to the good old days? I miss the good old days. Now, some of the good old days weren't so good. That's why you can't make those kind of statements. What's good for some person is not good for somebody else. So everything is got to be run through this filter and through this lens. But when you put it out there, if you feel strongly about it, stand by it. But if you're not willing to take the consequences, you may have to filter some of these things that's coming out of your mouth. But Domino's decided to tip its own customers for picking up your food. I kind of like that because that's stepping outside the box. I like companies that come up with great ideas. So I'm mad I didn't think of that. So they're saying, look, if you can save us the headache of having to go out there and hire a drive and drive through the snow and the muck and the rain, especially during this labor shortage, you come in here and pick up your own food, we're going to give you a tip. Way to go, Domino's. I guess that piece is pretty good too. Other retailers are probably going to follow. Let's see. Teachers are quitting in droves. See, now this breaks my heart. because I'm a big fan of teachers. I know they're underpaid. Now you got all this crap they got to put up. They're fighting people with mass vaccinations. Half the class is in the room. The other class is at home. You got crazy people showing up in the classroom wanting to punch the teacher out. Now you got there's some law down in one of the states said that in the state of Virginia, they got a tip line now. They catch you anything that resembles critical race theory. Now they got a snitch on the teacher. And you wonder why teachers are quitting? Then there's another group down in some southern state where they said if the teachers teach anything that are against a parent's religious beliefs, they can be sued for up to $10,000. Who wants to be a teacher anymore? I'm telling you, teachers, you have my sympathy and my utmost respect. And I tell you, it's crazy. It's crazy out here. It's just absolutely crazy. Let's see what else is going on. Maryland complaints on Easy Pass overcharges skyrockets. Now they got these things now where you go through these Easy Pass and they got these cameras now and all this stuff is all these cameras now everywhere. So now in the state of Maryland, this 7 News, drivers have been complaining about being overcharged. Even when they weren't driving, they get their ticket in the mail and they haven't even driven anywhere. And so they have the Maryland Transportation Authority, which oversees the Easy Pass. They say the problem started during the pandemic when they started having to they couldn't get people to put in the booth, so they started relying more on cameras. That's a pretty convenient excuse. And then, not to be outdone, in Alexandria, over 4,700 erroneous citations are being issued during a time period between 2016 and 2019 at a particular intersection in Alexandria. It was a red light camera, and it's just racking up. And so now they're giving out refunds to people. That's some people. You got to watch this. Look at your bank statement. Look at your credit report. When you get a ticket in the mail, don't just, well, they got me. You need to look and make sure, because I'm telling you, boy, I'm not saying they did this on purpose, but the technology now is ruling the day, and it's not always right. That's why later in the show, we're going to talk about technology. Are you savvy enough to navigate these waters in this technological age? So we're going to talk about that coming up. Now, in a moment, after the break, we're going to talk about race in the workplace. I know we don't want to talk about it. It makes us uneasy. It makes us uncomfortable. You think the people who are on the receiving end of this aren't comfortable? Aren't uncomfortable? You go to catch your check and people won't catch it because of the color of your skin. You're a teacher, and now you're looking over your shoulder every 5 minutes because somebody's going to sue you because of something you said in the classroom. There's some insidious forces out here. And I'm going to repeat this. It's not everybody. The good, decent people have to stand up, come out of the shadows. We don't want to see a repeat of what happened in Wilmington, North Carolina in 1894. But it's gonna, if we're not careful. So hang on. We're going to take another quick break. We're going to talk about that quickly. Then we're going to talk about technology, business success in a digital age. This is the Marketing Pulpit. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We'll be right back in a moment. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more. They should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop in some period, but as long as folks back the food, got to talk about it. All right, welcome back to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday, bringing you the good marketing gospel. Not saving souls, we're saving businesses. We are putting people to work. Go to marketingpulpit.com and follow us. Go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. And we've been at this for going on 12 years. And so we've seen changes happening. Now, a lot of things changed during the pandemic, which made its debut on the shores of this country in 2019. It became popular in 2020. And so it kind of brought out the best in us and the worst in us. And one of the things that have been exacerbated has been racism, intolerance, sexism. All types of isms have raised their ugly heads. But in the spirit of Black History Month, we're going to talk about some of the race issues that have surfaced in the workplace. The first story, teachers accused of promoting CRT by celebrating Black History Month. Man, we have gone into a dark hole. The people who are promulgating, who are doing the dastardly deeds, are now making it difficult and in some cases impossible to talk about it. Now think about that. Europe and your forefathers have been lynching, raping, redlining, discriminating, and just downright doing some horrible things. And that's not everybody. I'm just telling you, there's certain segments of society. But now, these people's ancestors, these people's that they have raised, the people that they have put on this earth now, are fighting to make sure that we don't know about the deeds that they did. Because if you keep people in the dark, the good people won't come together. You got to keep people divided to beat them. And if you don't believe me, just read what happened in Wilmington, North Carolina. The good people, the people, I'm not necessarily they were good and bad. I don't want to make everything about good and bad. But there were two groups of people that they got together and they were promoting somewhat racial harmony, and progress was being made. But the people, I'm trying to find a nice, there is no nice word to say it. There's no nice word for what they were back then, and there's no nice word for it now. And you know who you are. If it's not you, I'm not talking about you. But if it is you, you should be ashamed of yourself. Shake that dark heart. Come to the good side. Promote peace and prosperity and harmony. You can't even teach Black History Month because you're being accused of critical race theory, that catch word. Okay. 6 tech-savvy minors have been ID'd as persons of interest in HBCU bomb threats. Can't even go to school. You got some of these same people out there saying, go out here and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Why are you always walking out here with your hand out? We're trying. We're trying to start our own businesses. We're trying to go to school and get an education. We're trying to raise our kids. Trying to vote in this democratic system you told us. That's what we're supposed to do. But for being good citizens, trying to do it the right way, you get bomb threats at historically Black colleges and universities. Now, once again, this technology, they're going to find these people. They've already identified 6, they call them young people, juveniles. But once again, I want you to look. Let's talk for real for a minute. If these young people are not taught history, if the only thing they see right now is racial animus, if they see politicians that are hell bent on destroying the country, they see adults behaving a certain way, then they're going to do that too. If they can't see what happened on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, if they can't see that there was a bombing that killed 4 innocent Black children, if they see that, it's possible that their hearts could be softened, that they might say, I'm not going to be that. They might go home and say, Mom, Dad, is this true? What happened? What can I do to make sure that doesn't repeat itself? But if you don't share that history, you're going to have juveniles threatening to blow up Black colleges. This is a discussion we got to have. And don't give me that critical race theory crap. I know what you're saying. That's a buzzword. That's a buzzword. There's nothing even wrong with critical race theory. But most of these schools aren't teaching critical race theory. They're trying to teach children. They're trying to teach us that if we don't remember history, we are destined to repeat it. This is a business development show, but we don't live in a vacuum. Somebody's got to talk about these things. Somebody has to balance. Somebody has to counter this propaganda out here that's leading us into this dark hole. And before it's too late, we're not going to be able to get out of it. My background is in history and political science. Before I became a business person, I was destined to go to Syracuse Law School. I chose a different path because I felt that my calling was in the business arena. But I've never forgotten the things I learned in my history class. And I never forget how lost I would be had I not learned them. You can't deny people history. And I'm telling you, this is not directed at Blacks. This is directed at progressive and fair-minded whites so that they don't get this information and join forces of progress. This is not about somebody feeling guilty. This is about division, power. A Houston doctor says Chase Bank employees questioned her medical credentials when she tried to deposit her first $16,000 check from a new job. So this doctor is suing Chase for racial discrimination. She says she was treated like a criminal. She just tried to catch her check. She said that she pulled out her ID, business cards, everything that she thought she could do. And this lady said, look, one of the other tellers that she tried to get to help to sign off on it said, no, this is fraud. And of course, now she's suing. That shouldn't happen. I mean, if you got some protocol you got to go through, I mean, you got to do it for everybody, though. Don't just pick on this Black woman because, I mean, the big check she got was part of a signing bonus. And there's a lot of that going on now. This is not the first big check people are going to see. Just treat people fairly. Nobody wants any special treatment. I don't. I've never asked for anybody to do anything for me special because I was Black. And I'm never am going to do that. I've had to endure some obstacles. I've endured some of the same thing that most other people do. I don't sit here and cry about it. I just try harder and try to make the road easier for the next person. Let's see. NFL's coach sues, alleges racial bias. Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores is suing the National Football League and several teams in what's expected to be a landmark case, examining diversity and equity in the NFL's hiring practices. Now, of course, the suit includes Denver Broncos, New York Giants, and I think the Browns. But anyway, he also said they were paying him $100,000 per game to lose, to tank the game. Those are pretty serious accusations. Boy, you know what I hate about these kind of stories, though? As we saw with Colin Kaepernick, it's like you throw yourself out here. You make your splash. You might even get a couple of bucks. But then your career is pretty much tanked from that point going forward. It takes a lot of grit to do this. Now, like I said, the Dolphins have said the charges were inflammatory and derogatory and wrong. John Elway of the Broncos, he said he actually tried his best to give the guy a fair hearing, even though he was a little disheveled. He had just gotten off a plane. Flores said he came in he was a little lit up during the interview. He was an hour late. Of course, Elway is pushing back. How many of these stories do we have to hear? There was this discussion recently about, is America racist? Is the country under systemic racism? Well, there are some racist systems in the country. That doesn't mean everybody in the country is a racist or every white person is a racist. Like I said, we're going to need the fair-minded people to join us in this fight. And there are many. I know some. I mean, I got people of all types of backgrounds and races among my friends. So this guy, when I worked together, when I was at Telegrocery, we started one of the first home delivery supermarkets in the country. This guy, Greg. And we have never lost connections. I mean, we came to each other's homes and we know each other's children. I can sincerely count him as one of my friends. So I'm not anti-anything. I'm anti-racism. I'm anti-bigotry. And I want the people who are not that to step up. That's the only way we're going to beat this thing. And with this critical race theory, anti-critical race theory, and getting rid of Black History Month and whitewashing history, that is a bold effort to keep us apart. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about, are you tech savvy enough to navigate this new era in which we live? If you're a business owner or not, you want to hear this segment because I'm going to introduce you to some terms, give you a quick overview, a quick lesson on technology. Because some of y'all with these Zoom accounts and emails and y'all making a mess. Oh my goodness, I wish I could help you in a bigger way, but I'm going to do what I can to try to make things better. So you don't want to miss this segment coming up. We're going to talk about technology, business success, particularly in a digital age. So don't go anywhere. This is the Marketing Pulpit. We'll be back in a moment. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more. They should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop in some period, but as long as folks back the food, got to talk about it. All right, welcome back to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we're here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're kicking off Black History Month on the show this week. First Friday is also National Red Wearing Heart Women Health Month. So all you red wearers, man, that's a tongue twister. All you red wearers out there, hats off to you. Much health, much health. Now, one of the many hats that I wear is a technology consultant. I work with the Small Business Administration in the 8A program, the J7 8A program. And in that role, I've been charged with the responsibility of helping businesses in the program stay on top of technology, either through social media, web presence, and things like that. And so what I've also discovered, that a lot of people, whether you're in the 8A program or not, you're struggling with some of this technology. Now, of course, I can't cover everything in this short period of time, but I'm going to just touch on some of the things. So what I did, I took some of the acronyms you're going to run across, because many times we see these acronyms, we just brush over them and say, man, I don't know what that means. Maybe somebody's going to tell me later on, and you go back, you bookmark it, I'm going to go back and look it up, then you never do, then it pops up again. You say, oh my God, I'm going to look that up. So I'm just going to give you some terms that you need to know. Whether you're using technology or not, when you hear it, you need to have some basic understanding of what it means. First one we're going to talk about is API. That's not Associated Press. It actually stands for Application Programmers Interface. Now, if you have a website, and let's say you have something like PayPal or MailChimp or ShipStation, and you want that website to talk to another third-party program, you want to bring that information from that website into your website. Now, if you have like a PayPal regular standard account, you don't need an API. You just really, when you click that button, you're just going over to PayPal. But let's say you want to bring that transaction into your website, you need some type of link. So there's an API code generally that's generated on the application side, and you take that code and put it on your website, and now they are connected. So let's just say you have a MailChimp account, and right now you sending out your MailChimp. Every time you get ready you got a form on your website, but instead of now you got to take that information from the form, then you got to go over to MailChimp and type it into MailChimp. You're creating extra work. Through API, you create yourself a regular form. Let's say you have WordPress website, you do the contact form 7 and download the MailChimp app and use the API code that's generated on the MailChimp side, put that on your website. Now, every time somebody completes that form on your WordPress website, it automatically populates your MailChimp account as well. Cuts out a whole lot of work. So that's the first one, API. Second one we're going to talk about today is CPC. CPC stands for cost per click. In this digital age, you're going to be buying some advertising. Well, at least you should be. You can't, that organic efforts are going to take you but so far. So you're going to have to at some point buy some advertising. So advertising is usually sold one of two ways, either CPC, which is cost per click. If you're doing Google advertising, you're paying for each click. You put some money in the account, and each time somebody clicks on that ad and comes to your website, Google charges you that predetermined rate. That's called CPC. Another acronym in that same realm is called CPM. CPM stands for cost per mille, M-I-L-L-E. And M-I-L-L-E is a Latin term for 1,000. So for cost per mille, it's usually you're selling impressions. You didn't do any click, you didn't click on the ad, but they're promising you that a certain number of people are going to see it. It's going to show up on their feed or somewhere on the internet. And so they're charging you CPM, cost per mille. Another C word is CMS. CMS is a website term, stands for Content Management System. Right now, most websites are built on a CMS platform, either WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, Wix, Weebly, Web.com, Google, or whatever. They build a CMS. CMS, Content Management System, means that the website can usually be operated by the owner. It's built on a user-friendly platform that's in the cloud. It's dashboard-based. You log into your dashboard. You can add pages, make updates, and so forth. And many website designers right now, they build these websites on the CMS platform with the understanding that at some point, the owner may want to take possession of that. That's CMS. Another word you may want to be familiar with, you've seen it, you know what it meant, is DCIM. It's an acronym. If you ever have an old telephone sitting around and you're trying to get that data, and we've seen a lot of this, I guarantee you right now, many of you under the sound of my voice, you got about 5 or 6 old cell phones sitting in a drawer somewhere with information on it that you say, how can I get it off? Well, what you want to do is take that old phone, plug in the cable that came with it. You may have to find the box that it came with. If not, you can go to Amazon or someplace and buy that cable, connect it to your phone, and plug it into your website, into your computer or laptop through the USB cable. And when it does, it's going to open up a folder just like it's an external drive. And in that, you're going to see a folder called DCIM. It stands for Data Center Infrastructure Management. And usually in that folder, you're going to find all those old pictures and videos that you was wondering how you're going to get off your phone into your computer. That's DCIM. Another term I want you to be familiar with is KPI. Stands for Key Performance Indicators. When you're doing social media, if you're doing Facebook, YouTube, whatever, they give you data. They give you insight. They give you statistics, analytics. And on social media, you want to make sure you're going in the right direction. See, every activity is not going to result in a sale. So what you want to do is make sure you're going in the right direction. And you do that by looking at KPIs. We call those indicators. If you're getting more tweets, you get more likes, you get more shares, more comments, more engagement. That means the indicators are saying that you are moving in the right direction. If they're going the wrong direction, you need to change course. Next word I want you to be familiar with is LTV, lifetime value. If you have built your business model on one-off sales, you're going to fail. So what you have to do is build into that model recurring service, recurring sales. We call that the lifetime value. So the lifetime value is how much money this customer is going to spend with you over a year. In general, I mean, it really means forever, but we just kind of round it off to a year. LTV, lifetime value, not LTD. That's Jeffrey Osborne. That's the group. People that look like Jeffrey Osborne. But LTV stands for lifetime value. Let's see. POP, POP. POP is not your dad. Well, POP may be your dad, but POP is also an email term, stands for point of protocol. It's called Post Office Protocol. It's an internet standard that defines an email server and the way to retrieve mail from it. Another is cousin called IMAP, Internet Message Access Protocol. Now, why do I bring that up? Because many of you get your cell phone, you get your iPhone, and you say, how can I bring this mail into my phone? Now, I'm not going to get in and give you instructions on how to do it, but what you can do, get on usually the provider, let's say it was Google or GoDaddy or even my company, Gatewood, there's usually a help button. If you go to that help button inside your desktop, there's usually a download or a page that shows you how to configure the POP, the IMAP, the SMTP to configure it for your phone. And if all else fails, call the line of the company that's selling you the internet services, and they can usually walk you through it. If you're trying to move large files around, you cannot move a file, generally about 15 to 20 megabytes is about the most you can send through email. It's not that you don't have enough room on your hard drive or the place where you're sending it may have ample space, but there's a pipeline that it has to go through. And if that pipeline is not going to let you send that 20 megabyte file, you have to find another way to transfer that data. That's where you get into things like Dropbox and Google Drive. So if you're trying to send Gmail, you're trying to send somebody a video file that you created, and that thing is like a gigabyte, forget it. It's not going to go over the internet. I get this happen like at least once or twice a month. Somebody says, hey, I sent you that. You send me. I'm saying, where's that information I need? I sent it to you yesterday. Well, they tried to send me this great big file, and the thing got bumped because it was too big. So, and we're also getting comments from the audience saying, you got to back up your password. Good idea. SEO, another term you need to be familiar with. You hear it all the time. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. If you have a website, that website needs to be friendly for Google. Google does not like your website if it's static and it's not optimized. So SEO simply means that your website needs to kind of at least have somewhat conformity with the algorithms of Google, because Google is the main search engine. So how do you do that? Well, first thing you want to do is, if you want to get the poor man, the quickest way to do it is start blogging. I know people say, hey, man, I don't know blog. Most of your CMS platforms, going back to content management system, most of them now come with a blogging platform built in it. So if you, let's say if Gatewood built you this great website, you got all this, man, you say, I don't want to touch a thing. It's great. Don't touch a hair on it. I love it the way it is. That might be great for you, but it's going to be horrible for Google. Google doesn't like it because you haven't done anything to it in the last few months. So what they're going to do is start ignoring you on the searches because they consider your website inactive. So how do you fix that? You set yourself up a blog. Your blog can be anything. You can talk about new employees. You can talk about new products. You can talk about your own personal feelings on certain issues. That keeps Google happy, and it keeps moving your website up into the hierarchy of search engine optimization. Moving right along here. SSL, that's secure socket layer. If you have a website and your website does not have that little lockup there at the top, if you're sitting in front of a computer right now, look up at the URL, the Universal Resource Locator, and you'll see a little lock. If the lock is not there, it's probably been replaced by something called website not secure. If you're into branding, that's not a good look. So what you want to do is get yourself an SSL certificate. It's going to cost you about $50 to $70 a year, and it's going to make Google happy. Google does not want to send its traffic to a website that's not secure. Google is into this thing called UX, called user experience. They want to make sure that their visitors, their people that they're working with, their everybody in the Google ecosystem, that they have a good Google experience. So they want to make sure that one thing, that website is secure. They also have this thing called the core vitals that Google offers, and this is a little more advanced than your typical SEO acronyms about technology. But Google has this thing now where it's not just SEO now. They have core vitals. One of those things is called LCP. It's called the largest content paint. In other words, how long does it take for the largest element on your website to load? If it's taking too long, Google doesn't like it, and it's going to fail the core vitals test. Another one is called FID. It's the first input delay. How long does it take for the page to become interactive? Another term is a little high tech, but these are things you need to at least be aware of as to why your website may not be coming up in the Google searches. Another one is called the CLS, cumulative layout shift. In other words, when you bring that website up, how long does it take for things to start moving around on the page? Google is taking all of these things into consideration when it's deciding who's to put at the top of the food chain in the search hierarchy. I know this sounds a little deep and a little like gateway. That's a little above my pay grade, but I'm telling you, you don't have to know exactly how it works, but you need to be aware of it. And that's what we're talking about today. Let's see. Hold 1 second here. Let me take this. Got this banner that's in previous show. So the last thing we're going to talk about, and this has to do with that process, the young lady who had the terrible experience on Zoom. Folks, like a gun, always assume that it's loaded, and Zoom, your camera, whether it's your phone, your desktop, your iPad, always assume that camera is on. If you're not sure about it, turn the camera around. Anything you're doing is hanky-panky wise, go behind the camera, but you can't assume that these cameras are off. And we had a young lady down in Alabama. She's gonna have a rough life ahead of her because she was caught on camera doing something that was very intimate, and I'm sure she didn't want the world to see. And she's a school teacher, so that makes it extremely precarious. So, and this is the last thing I want to tell you also. This is just kind of off, since we're on Zoom. When you get a Zoom, if you're doing like a Zoom meeting or if you're doing a Zoom event, and somebody sends you the passcode and the meeting ID, but they didn't send you the link itself, that does not mean you can't access that event. What that simply means, log into your Zoom account, which you have to assume you have one, and then hit the join button and put in that ID and that passcode. I've had many people miss very good events because they say, oh, they forgot to send me the Zoom link. Well, it's good if they send you the link, but if they don't send you the link, it could be because they're trying to password protect it and they're trying to put up that extra layer of security. So they just sent you the ID and the passcode. So log into your account, look for that join button, and all you gotta do is put in that code and put in that passcode, and you're in. Now, folks, what I'm going to do also, if you have a particular, if you want this information, then send me a link. Send me a link to send me an email to my email address, and I'll send you this information in a PDF format. And also, all I'm going to ask you to do is go to my YouTube page and subscribe, and I'm going to send you this entire sheet on how to be successful in the digital age. And also, as a bonus, I'm going to send you the PowerPoint presentation that I actually used this past Wednesday when I did a presentation for the Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. And we had about good Lord, we had about a lot of, dozens and dozens of people tuned into that Zoom meeting, and we had so many people afterwards kept asking for this information. I had to create a template, so I'm sending it out, and I'm offering it to anybody who wants this information. Send me an email at robert@gatewoodmarketing.com, and I will send you that PowerPoint presentation, because let me tell you folks, besides building strong businesses and putting people to work, I'm also on this digital divide mission as well. We are falling behind because we don't have this information on technology. We're out here doing hanky-panky stuff on Zoom. We're out here, our websites are falling apart. People are taking advantage of us money-wise because we don't understand the language and the lingo. I am on a mission, and that's why I'm starting this month. I'm going to stay, along with building strong businesses and putting people to work, I'm going to be on this crusade to shrink this digital divide so that we don't fall so behind and that people are taking advantage of us for lack of knowledge. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. One of the listeners, in fact, that's William from Idea Gear. He said, use a piece of paper to cover that camera. Yeah, some people do that. I have to use a Post-it note. It's like, because sometimes you forget. You really forget. You're sitting there doing your day, and sometimes you done turn the camera on and the phone ring. You're sitting there doing all kinds of stuff. You're sitting there eating lunch and singing. And in the case of this poor teacher, you get a little amorous and you forget the cameras on, and next thing you know, all the kids in school got all up in you, and I know all kind of Lord have mercy. Folks, that's going to wrap up the show for today. You've been a great audience. I know I maybe went off a little track a little bit talking about the race thing, but that is on this Black History Month. I want everybody, let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to be saying la-di-da and walk arm in arm, but let's be respectful. Let's fight these insidious forces that are trying to divide us. Every Black person is not your friend, and every white person is not your enemy. What your friend should be is progress, moving forward, equality. That's what I've been able to live by. It's working. You don't have to deny who you are. You don't have to whitewash your website. You don't have to erase your history to succeed in this society. But just know this: when you take a stand, be prepared to deal with the consequences. And particularly if you're going to put it out here on social media. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. We are here. We're going to be back next week. We're going to be talking about some other topics of interest. We're also going to be showcasing some of our local heroes in the United States during this Black History Month. I'm going to bring on some folks and talk about some of the things they've been doing to move this needle forward. I want to thank everybody who's been engaging in the show today with your comments. I see some of the folks, some of the very loyal listeners. Attorney Bradley Thomas, thank you for tuning in. Brother Gerald Brown, the greatest plumber in town. I see Emmanuel, I see William, and a few other people that I can't see your name, but I see your numbers. But thank you for tuning in, and thank you for making this show a success. Thank you to our sponsors, BLE Executive Suites and events, Passion Events Design Events. Young lady named Alice, who have a great service. You plan on a wedding, look her up. You can also go to marketingpulpit.com, where we have a video on our sponsors. Support them in this season of Black history. Okay? Support them. They support us. I want you to support them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today. I'll go somewhere and sit down, drink some of my water. Hey, see that brand there, ladies and gentlemen? Now, we've done several shows on branding. See that? Make sure your brand is strong. I got my brand on my cup, got on my pens. Where my face mask? We're going to do another show on branding too, because what I've learned that during this pandemic is that the unbranded have faced some of the same fate as the unvaccinated. It's like you don't do it, you might survive, but you might not have the same result. So get your brand strong. We're going to talk about that. So anyway, send me a note, and I'll send you this PowerPoint presentation. But also go to YouTube and like my support subscribe to the channel. Love to have you as a subscriber. And we're going to tune out of here. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We'll be back next week at the same time. And if you want to be successful, you got to do these 3 things. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you have to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work. People don't understand marketing. You can't stop every time the money runs out. You need to come on and tell people why your service is different. Why is everybody so angry? Airline passengers biting the TSA agents. I mean, it reminds me of one of those zombie apocalyptic movies. And as a community, collectively, we're going to be taken more seriously if we have that strong economic foundation. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you have to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work.